All right. So I'll start. So if you haven't got paper and you'd like to draw, there's some paper, pens and pencils at the front. Most people just carry a laptop or a phone or a tablet nowadays. If you want to draw on your tablet, please draw on your tablet as well. So I'm running this presentation as a whiteboard from a tablet. Okay, so it's not a PowerPoint. And sometimes I stuff up because I'm using a pencil and it doesn't work so well when I'm going. So bear with me if I go a little bit off track. So my name is Phil Wild and I'm a solutions engineer with a company called Confluent. And if you don't know who Confluent is, the founders of Confluent created Apache Kafka. But I'm not going to talk about that today. I'm going to talk about drawing. So the agenda. Doodling and drawing, expressing ideas and concepts through visual communication. And this is kind of my journey, because I didn't draw a few years ago. In fact, if you look at my drawings years ago, completely different to how I draw now and how I sort of run a presentation or a whiteboard. And I try not to use PowerPoint anymore. I try to always use a whiteboard when I'm presenting something. So first, I'll say thank you to our sponsors today, especially the coffee sponsors. Okay, so a question. Who in the room feels that they're comfortable drawing? Hands up. Cool, some of us, all right. People coming in, if you want to grab some paper, if you've got it, yep, all right, good, thank you. All right. I've always been very comfortable in front of a whiteboard, but my drawing has been pretty crap up until about a year ago. So in here, you'll see when I'm moving my fingers, so you'll see little dots, okay? All right, so I'm gonna draw something on a board, on a paper, on a flip chart, okay. Now, I don't think my handwriting is very good, but bear with me. Okay, so something simple. Not very good, but what does that look like? Fire, yep. I can shade with other colours, but shading kind of helps sometimes. Right, so I'm going to call that number 1. No, that didn't work very well at all. All right, can I get that back? Yeah, there it is. Okay. So we might use fire, when we're working something that's hot, or maybe something that's dangerous as well, right? Or something that might need attention. I'm going to put the lids down so I don't lose those. Quite simple, a little bit of shading. A factory, industry, location. Okay. This one's quite relevant to us here in Western Australia, isn't it? Right? A shark. Danger. So these symbols are really quick to draw. So if you're actually running a whiteboard session, you can add them to pages as you need them, right? People walking in, there's paper, pencils at the front if you want to copy. And please, if you want, copy this if you want to copy as I go. Right. Setting a goal, right? Being able to draw something on a whiteboard to say this is our goal and just represent it visually. A flip chart would have worked better, but this goes all right. So perhaps we're on a journey, right? Very simple, helicopter. Number 5, and the last one I'm going to draw right. Skull and crossbones, right? Again, for danger. Very easy to do. Didn't take long. They're quite simple, basic shapes. You put them together. But you have to remember them if you're going to draw them. So that's how I do it on a flip chart. This is how I would present it on a light board, right? But I would have to do this ahead of time. I can't draw quickly. However, I do pre-draw these and put them in a library so that I can just pop them on when I'm working with a light board. Okay. So I don't know if this is true or not, but when I Googled, right, the fear of whiteboarding. I can't draw, you know. Last time I drew was with a crayon and when I'm 5. A lot of people are like this. You walk into a room and say, can you draw this? And it's like, no, I can't draw. You know, I can draw stick figures. That's about it. So this is taken just from Wikipedia, right? The use of visual elements to convey ideas and information, okay, using fonts, signs, typography, drawing. So why do we want to do this? Okay, so one thing is it relays messages much faster if you can put some imagery in there, right? I'm sure you've all heard the saying, a picture is worth 1,000 words. It can remove ambiguity. You know, a comma in the wrong spot changes things with the English language. If you draw it with a picture, a diagram or something like that, it's right in front of you. And I worked as an architect, and I still do sort of architecture stuff for a long time. Go in a room, you put the picture up, everyone's got it in front of them, and you're talking to it and changing it, okay, as opposed to trying to read through and understand it. You bring it in much, much faster. Okay. So I'm going to talk a little bit about my journey, all right? And I'll do it with pictures. So, I don't know, when you're in school and you were asked to draw a landscape, this is kind of what you drew, you know. The horizon, some mountains, the sun, gave it some colour. Okay, so I'm going to start there, all right, and this is my journey. So about 10 years ago, I was using physical whiteboards. And these are the sort of things I was, you know, putting up on the screen. Pretty bland, but I guess they got the message across as to what we're trying to do. Okay. And about 2012, I wanted to start taking digital notes and using a tablet. So I bought a stylus-optimized tablet. 2012, the Apple Pencil still didn't exist. You were told to use a finger. And so I bought an Android tablet, and it never really worked well. But I persisted. I went through about 4 different Android tablets with styluses. But my drawing on a tablet looked worse than it did on a whiteboard. Okay, but I was using it. Then this happened. Okay, and everyone stopped going into an office, and I no longer had access to a whiteboard. But we had Zoom. And all of a sudden, a tablet with a pen became really, really handy. I could, join the Zoom meeting with my tablet and I could draw, kind of like on a whiteboard, but I was still pretty crap at drawing. Okay, still really crap at drawing, but at least I was able to do something. And then early last year, I changed jobs and I started working with Confluent. And as an organisation for their solutions engineers, of which I'm a solutions engineer, they had enabled their workforce with an iPad, with an app called Concepts that I hadn't used before, and some other tools, and I'll go through the tools. And it was a little bit eye-opening. I thought, wow, this is really cool. This actually works. So if I show you, I guess, what my whiteboards look like within about a month of starting working with those tools at Confluent. So definitely improved, right? I'm starting to draw things out. Now, one of the nice things about Concepts, and I'm going to say if you've got an iPad, even if you've got Android, Concepts works on the Android, but the documents aren't compatible between them, and it's sort of a couple of versions behind on Android. It's still okay, all right? But the infinite canvas, so I can scroll left, right, out, in. It's just good to be able to, zoom into detail like I'm doing here. Okay, and then about 2 months after I joined, we had someone new come into leadership, and she suggested, because we were all using this, that we should maybe do some training in it. And I attended a 2-day workshop on visual facilitation by a company in Australia called the Humble PM. Now, Vocablo is a German company. They basically sell material around visual facilitation. And there's a guy called Mark Hundleby that runs these courses. So they're quite expensive. It's about $1,500. If you can get your company to sponsor, this, it'd be really cool. And I'm going to show you these drawings here that I started this morning. That's using the Vocablo sort of technique. All right, and this kind of really took off for me, right? So my drawing just changed, and it changed on a sort of a rapid progression. So I will go into the tools. So with digital, I have an iPad, and drawing with a pencil on an iPad, if you've got one, it's not very good. It sort of slips and slides everywhere. Samsung with their stylus is much better. I much prefer to note take on a Samsung tablet, and I use that in meetings. So I typically carry a MacBook, my iPad, and a Samsung tablet. So lots of things to keep charged. It gets better if you put a screen protector on the glass, and you can get this one off of Amazon. It's called it's from Belmont. It's about $25 for 2 screen protectors, and it gives it a bit of a matte finish, so it feels more like writing on paper. They've tried to emulate their paper with the pencil, so I would recommend it. And of course, the Concepts app. This is a really good app, and if you have problems, their support's really good. It's only a small team out of California that write this. And then lastly, you don't need this, and I could show you how this works, except my MacBook's at the back of the room, so I can't. It basically is a AirPlay receiver running on your MacBook, so that I can present from my iPad up here or wherever it is onto a screen somewhere with a HDMI cable. Okay, so that's digital. Now, with paper, if you do the Vocablo course, and you don't have to do it, but if you do it, you get one of these sort of packs, and you get these refillable pens from Newland, and they have like hundreds of colours. They have them for paper, they have them for whiteboards, very large tips for doing shading and things. So they're really good if you sort of, if your work is in a room and you are, doing sort of agile facilitation and you want to draw out a journey or something like that and you're doing it on paper, these are really good, much better than what you can get from an Officeworks. Okay. They're expensive, and you can buy them online. Also, actually, I'll show that later. I'll leave that for now. Okay. And again, I've already mentioned this, but with whiteboards, again, the Newland markers, and I'm going to suggest that if you're buying markers, buy the ones that have the sort of rectangular tips. Yep, chisel tip, is that what it's called? Cool, there you go, learned something. So you can use both edges, right? So my little people here, they just sort of emulated it on my tablet, is the wide one to draw the bodies and a narrow one to draw the heads and arms. So, all right. So now this is a follow along. How to draw. Okay. So please copy me if you want to, right? Lines. These are simple, right? Easy. Getting a bit harder. So these Newland pens have places for your finger, so you're always holding it the right way so that tip touches the paper the way it's supposed to. And I'm never good at making circles, but that one turned out pretty good. All right. Squiggly shapes. And the last ones are the other shapes. Right. My shark fin and the letter U. So if you can do all those shapes, you can draw all of the Picablo symbols. So, like that. Right. Very quick to draw something. And of course, shading helps. Right. So here's some other shapes. And again, you'll see them all in the Picablo shapes. And again, colouring shading really changes the way they look. So let's draw some more. Try these. Okay, and for these, right, our shark fin. Okay. Can you see, I've got some, no, you can't see it at all. I've got some cheats on there, which turned out very good, right? So, a meeting between two people. Now, Motsu, let me draw Motsu, right? But I'm going to do it in a different order. I'm going to do the O, I'm going to do the M, I'm going to do a U, and a Z. I'll do them on the screen. Just check my pen's working. Yeah. Oh. Right, shading. Now, containers. When drawing containers, and actually I won't do it on the white, right. Draw the words, then draw the box around it. If you draw the box first, your words won't fit. Okay. All right. So, just being able to, all right, I'm drawing an architectural diagram and I've got a secure area. Dropping a lock in a corner that's either locked or unlocked, you can draw that in 10 seconds just to make it, much easier than writing secure zone, right, or unsecure zone. So I got these 2 books when I did the training, and they basically talk through lots of different techniques and shapes and everything. I've just taken 2 photos just so you can see some of the symbols. I've drawn some already today, you would have seen. Right. So I'm going to draw people now, because this really comes down to how much time you want to spend. So it could be as simple as an upside down U in a line, and it looks like a person, right? A little bit of shading helps it, even if you're doing that on the run. You don't need to put arms, but when we draw stick figures, our arms don't come out of our tummies; they come out from under our necks. So you draw your arms at the top. You can start to do actions like falling, pointing, right? The difference, and in fact, if you're looking at this guy, I copied the guy that's sort of like 2 to the left and added the legs, thickened his arms, and added the shading. And then sort of the stick figure guy, I like these from there. I like how they look. So again, the whiteboard people, these are very quick to draw using the pen with the chiseled tip. And once you get the hang of drawing people, then you can, start to have them do things. So a team being led on a journey in a boat, very quick, easy to draw. Is this kind of cool? All right. Emotions. So, happy, you don't need to put eyes for happy. Smiley face is really all you need. Shock, pondering or thought, scared. If you don't want to draw faces, you can use symbolism as well, right? Very easy to just give an idea. You can dress them up in hats, hair. Okay. Now, if you have to, I'm going to say, don't draw the stick man. It's just as easy to draw 2 long legs and a pair of arms, and it just comes across as a lot better, right? So I'll give this to you as a JPEG afterwards as well. So writing is the next thing. And this is the thing I hate. So this is my writing. All right, it's shocking. I can barely read it. And if I have to do something fast, and if I'm nervous, like in a room of people, it gets even worse. So this is the Bicablo style of writing, okay? And the one thing is it's really compact, right? Much, much more compact than my handwriting. So you can fit it into flip charts really easily. You can get a lot more letters in. So it's good. And the thing that makes it readable is the really tall, skinny, lowercase characters. Now, Concepts sucks at this. This is the only font you have in Concepts. It's Helvetica or Arial, and it's really long, and you don't get a choice. It's one. They say fonts are coming later next year, but so that means I have to handwrite everything. So how do I do that when my writing sucks? Well, I've made my own font of all the letters I use, and then I copy paste and manually kern. And this kind of sucks, right? It kind of looks neat when you're watching it, and my teammates, when they see me doing this, they kind of, that sort of satisfying videos that you see where people are lining up the letters and, well, other things. So that's how I do this. It takes a long time. So I have a shortcut, and I have I use Lucidchart as well. So I've hand-drawn a font that kind of matches with Lucidchart. So I will sometimes use this instead of the Bicablo font. And if I go to here, I didn't write that. I went into Lucidchart, I typed it in, I saved it as a transparent JPEG, I airdropped it onto the iPad, I imported it in and dropped it into my diagram. And that's much faster than writing paragraphs. So if I have to write paragraphs and put it in, mostly I don't, because mostly I'm just drawing pictures. But if I have to, that's the way I go. So I'm really looking forward to Concepts supporting more fonts. So actually, going back to this, and it improves memory, right? If I were to bring up the original flip chart, where was a helicopter? Hands up. Was it there, number 2? Nope, hands up when I go to the right one. It was 5, yeah. All right. So had I written down the helicopters as a list, you probably wouldn't remember it, right? Faces, I'm almost done. So, everyone want to draw this? Step 1, draw the nose. Then a smile. An ear. $66 for eyes. Some spiky hair. A chin. A neck. A collar. And shoulders. Let's start that again. A nose. A mustache. The same ear. Pair of glasses. A chin. Make the neck. Bald head. Up. Right. And that's done. So, I'm kind of on time. Who thinks they can do that? A few more? All right, that's good. So, my journey. Where are we? If I go back to now, these are some diagrams that I started. So, before Vocablo, this is just a picture from a whiteboard that I'd drawn. So, scribbling, colouring in, that sort of thing. So I tend to call this a light board, where you're drawing with light on a black background. After Vocablo, I switched to a whiteboard. So this was my first attempt, and this was in a week of using Vocablo. I had redrawn using the Vocablo technique of shading and colouring and the shapes, etc. And then, this is kind of where I am now, where I'm painstakingly neat, because I use these over and over and over again. It's like a book, reading a story to a classroom where I'm flipping pages. So, I've put time into something that I'm going to use more than half a dozen times, or in this case, a presentation I do once. But anyway, so this is the same version as a light board, and visually I like the brightness of the imagery on black, but it's a personal choice. Now, 2 weeks ago, I gave a talk on data mesh at an event in Perth, and without stepping through it like I stepped through this was the presentation. It's the first time I sort of gave a presentation with a tablet and a pen in front of a big room. But I tend to have slides in meetings where I do, agenda, go through problems where I might document it, so on. And then, the imagery, and I'm just panning through this. I will, if there are things that I need to bring in, I'll bring them in as a screenshot and just sort of frame them in my light boards. You can see here my people. Okay. Drawing interesting things like, for example, finding a balance between central and decentralized governance, putting them on a seesaw, just coming up with ideas about how you want to portray something that you're talking about. So this was a 20-minute talk, and that was everything that I had talked about. And I'm going to switch to a different document now. So this is going to go away, and I'm going to go in here. And this is my storytelling sort of light board. So again, I have my meeting hygiene slides, okay, which I go through. History of Confluent and Apache Kafka. And then I have my storytelling. So all this I hand draw, right? And I can bring them up and shut them down depending on the story I want to take. There's about 6 stories in this light board. Everything is turned on. And that's it. So that's my presentation. Questions? How much time do we have? Because I think are we at time? Okay.
How you get the ideas to generate these stories?
Some of them are so it might be a presentation, or it might be a YouTube video that has a concept around, let's just say it's, in my role, I might need to talk about data warehouse modernization. So I'll take ideas, and I will typically start with a flow. So I will scribble out in a layer within concepts, just wording or pictures as to how I want to make the story. And then I start from the first part to the last part, drawing out the bits and pieces that I want to talk about, and then just sort of crossing them off as I go. All right? And then so what I haven't done is within concepts, and the way I've worked this is, I have all the different steps in my story in different layers. So what I was doing with the pen, and in fact what I can show you is in Concepts, it has a presentation mode, which is good. What I'm going to go here is just do mirror everything. And now you can see the toolbar. So over on the right, in this one, there are layers, and I can turn these on and off as I go. So building out that story, once I do one, new layer, draw the new one, new layer, draw the new one. And also with the, like if I'm drawing out icons, so here where I've got shading, that's potentially 3 layers. So the line around the outside, the colouring on the inside, and then if I want to put a shadow in there, there's a layer underneath which I then combine to that object.
I think you might have answered this, but are these like reusable components?
Yes. Yeah, so what I do is over, you can see my screen now on the left, I have things that I've imported into a toolbar. So I can, for example, if I do that right, drop them in and use them. So the things I use more, I drop in, so it makes it much easier to do. And then, hence, it becomes a lot faster than drawing it on a piece of paper. Funny thing is, so in Concepts, a double tap is undo, and a triple tap is redo. And occasionally now, if I'm doing this and I stuff it up, I'll do that. And it's, you know, it just becomes natural once you start using this all the time. And you go into other apps and I double tap, oh no, I've got to hit the undo button. But
Hello. Oh. Are you able to pre-configure the views for the storytelling steps?
to go from one slot to another, no, I'm constantly paging, right?
Okay.
I have thought about drawing them up and then potentially using something like Prezi, but when you're in a meeting, sometimes you'll get taken off track, and doing that in a Prezi is a bit hard. So you just have to, I mean, I'm kind of used to it, and it makes it interactive. And I always get lots of feedback at the end of a meeting, how did you do that, right?
Hi. Do you have like any tips for showing how to do like cleaning up like relations between things, like this talks to this is grouped with this?
It kind of like how you do it on paper. So if I were to just draw something, you know, actually so within here you can see, you can change how things work. So, you know, doing it very quickly. But you can see in this diagram how I've got like lots of arrows and things. I have boxes inside other boxes, you know, connectors that you hand draw. Is there any sort of thing you'd like to sort of go beyond that, or? No, it's, so one of the things I do is I'll draw something and I think, well, that doesn't fit. So then what I need to do is, you know, I'll be selecting large areas, and then I have to wait for that because that's quite complex, and then I'll move them around, right? So quite often when I'm doing the drawings, it doesn't work the way I want it, and then I have to start reorganizing the puzzle.
Have you heard of the tool Miro?
Yes.
Okay, sorry.
Yep. So Miro is very good for those online where you've got lots of people working at the same time. But most of those people are working with a mouse, right? You're putting a post-it note on a piece of paper, and you're drawing with a mouse is so hard. Yeah. But Miro's cool. It is, right? Yeah.
So how do you share your slides after presentations?
So after I've done something, and typically what I'll do is I'll have a layer in here, which is where I put my notes, so actions and everything else. It's export, choose the format, so JPEG, whether it's a selection or the entire drawing, whether I want a black or white background, the resolution, and then I'll airdrop it to my Mac and send it out as a PDF. So what I will do, if you want this, you can reach out to me on LinkedIn, or I don't know how, is there a way of giving the presentations out afterwards? Yep, so I'll export this as a JPEG at the end.
Good. Thanks everyone so much. Please give another round of applause for the amazing Phil.
Thank you.